So we are live, and I am here in the hot seat with Rachel. And I'm so happy and I feel so blessed that you're here. And I can tell just from our prior conversation that you and I need to have more conversations because there's so much of what we talked about that totally resonates with me. And, we just discovered that we are KBBers. We are both graduates of the Knowledge Broker Blueprint course that Tony Robbins and Dean Graciosi created. And, so there's obviously some similar paths that you and I have taken, and we're just discovering this now, which I mean, I love that, right? And it's amazing. It still amazes me that we attract so many like-minded people. What you put out is attract, and you and I found each other. And so as you were talking, I'm like, oh yeah, this totally resonates with me, because your journey and my journey, although different, are very parallel and very similar. So Rachel, tell us about you and your business and what got you to where you are right now.
Okay, cool. So my name is Rachel Radha, or Rachel, and I own a company called Drop That Rock. And the reason it's called Drop That Rock is if you can envision yourself in a boat by yourself, and there's this huge cruise ship 100 or 200 yards away, and everyone in the cruise ship is like, drop that boulder, drop the rock. If you drop the rock, you won't sink and you can swim over to the cruise ship. And I'm over there in the boat saying, I'm not dropping my rock. It's my rock. It's my emotions. It's my memories. It's my family. It's all of my insecurities, and it's all of my addictions. And what do I do if I drop it? And everyone's saying, believe me, just trust us, drop the rock. And as the boat is filling up with water, and as I'm starting to sink with that boulder, I finally find the courage and trust in those that have done it before me to put that boulder into the ocean. And I can swim over now free to join the people that I love on the cruise ship. And that's kind of what I do, is I teach people how to find the courage to drop that rock of all their mental baggage.
Mm-hmm.
And I know it's a huge rock to let go of because I've been there. So I am qualified to help drop it. And that's what I do, is to help people find their purpose and their freedom through letting go of their past.
Oh, I love that analogy as well. I had a life coach help me when I was feeling overwhelmed, and I just had so many things that needed to be addressed, and I didn't know where to start. So it ended up being total inaction. Like it paralyzed me.
Exactly.
And he's like, Diva, you're carrying a knapsack of rocks, essentially, and they're weighing down. He said, but you're looking at trying to deal with the whole bag. Take out a rock, deal with that specific rock first. And that analogy, for some reason, really worked for me. And I actually bought a bowl at the dollar store and rocks, because you can buy the bags of rocks at the dollar store. And on each rock, I wrote out all the things I had to do or that needed to be dealt with. And I put them in a bowl. And I would deal with one, and I'd take out the rock and I'd put it in a planter. And so now the bowl is almost empty. And some rocks are continual, right? We need to, continue taking care of certain things. And what a way for me to wrap my head around that, to make it accessible, to make it easy for me, or easier for me to face the things, rather than, trying to carry all of them at the same time.
Right. And that's beautiful. That's a great way to do it. Also, I think you and I are probably, another similarity is that we're visual learners. And so for you to be able to see something, hold it, touch it, is exactly how I am. I've got my spirit animals, and there's stuffed animals all over the house, and I have rocks also. So yeah, we're very aligned in that. And that representation, that symbolism, is very, very important. And I've worked with people that will take out the list of things they want to let go of. And once we let go of them, we take that list to the beach and we burn it, or we bury it. Yeah.
I love that. I do a lot of that as well. And I actually do that with my clients. I call it cord cutting. So,
Yes.
you write a letter, or to somebody you're in conflict with, or you write a letter about, an issue that you're having, or a limiting belief, and you write down everything that you feel about it. And then you have a burning ceremony, and you release it into the universe.
Love it. Yeah, when I finished my coaching certifications, we had this amazing thing that you would love. It's Deva. How am I saying it right? Deva?
Diva, diva.
Diva. Oh, Diva. I like that better.
Yeah.
And so when we finished this it was an 8 hour, I don't want to say regression, but kind of like that, where you go back from your present all the way to the womb, and you
Wow.
go through all of those memories. And so I was curled up in a ball just by the end of it, because you have to trust the expert that's helping you, right? But it was an all-day process, and by the end, you are exhausted, but you're also exalted is the only word I can think of. And so she took us outside and gave us Chinese lanterns, and we lit them together, all of us that were in the class, and we watched them fly away. And it was a moment that will never leave me, because that symbolism was so powerful that we can heal. We do not, as you know, if you're sensitive like I am, we all go through crap. We all go through some really heavy crap. I lost both my parents at a fairly young age. One was in a car crash. Healing from that in your 20s is not easy.
Yeah.
But we can look at it as, this is happening to me, or this is happening. Life happens. It's not happening because of who I am. That's pretty egotistical when we break it down.
Mm-hmm.
It's reverse egoism, right? And to know that that was my mother's journey, that she was called back to non-physical for whatever reason. And her life path is something that if I'm going to heal, I have to accept. And
Yeah.
that's our way to freedom, is taking responsibility for our feelings and taking responsibility for what happens to us in our life, because then we're no longer a victim. And if we can say, I'm not responsible, God forbid someone breaks into my house and hurts me, and I'm okay, and I say, why does this happen to me? It's the neighborhood, my locks weren't big enough, the alarm didn't work. I can be outward bound and blaming, or I can say, why am I responsible for this? How can I take accountability so that I can be powerful? I was responsible for this because I was here, not because it was my fault. But since I'm here, I am response able. I'm
Yeah.
able to respond
That.
to what happened. And now I can go learn martial arts and teach hundreds, if not thousands of women online to have this not have to happen to them, because I'm strong enough to have gone through it. It's part of my life path.
Yes.
And so what am I going to turn it into?
Absolutely. Carla just joined us. Hi, Carla.
Hi,
And Deb's
Carla.
here. She's running out the door, but she wanted to say hi. She's going to check the replay, which is amazing. Yeah, that totally resonates with me as well. I love the response able, because you're right. Very easily we fall into the victim mode, and I'm a survivor of PTSD, and for the longest time, I was asking, why me, why me, why me? Because it seemed trauma after trauma after trauma was happening. And I was on the brink of not being able to handle much more. And I came to the conclusion there was a paradigm shift for me, because I saw a woman write an answer to somebody's question, which was, how long has everybody been dealing with PTSD? And this woman said 43 years and counting. And that was my pivot. That was me going, hell no, that is not going to be my story. And I made the decision on that day, at that moment, that I was going to transform my life, because I did not want to get to a point where I was able to say 43 years and counting. And I did anything and everything. And like some things didn't jive and other things really helped. But the point is I made the decision to be responsible for what was happening in my life, and then started to recognize I was actually attracting some of this stuff to happen. Like my mindset, being in that victim mode. And I mean, it's hard, and it's not to dispute anybody who's been through a recent trauma, because your body physically, there's so much going on, but you are attracting a lot of the same stuff, and it was repeating and repeating. And that was the moment I had to say, hell no, if I'm in charge, this stops now. And
Wow.
you make that decision, as hard as it is. And I just started asking the universe, how do I heal? Who do I know that can help me heal? What can I do to continue on this journey of healing? And so it was asking the right questions, and people showed up. And
Absolutely.
we need to understand that we are responsible. We are
And
responsible for what happens.
we are, and I remember when I first started working with someone, the first person I worked with this idea really pushed back. How dare you say that all these horrible things happened because I'm responsible for it?
Mhm.
And so when we start working with people, it's really important that we understand what responsibility means. So if it's my son's responsibility to take out the trash on a very basic level every Thursday, is it because he created all the trash? No, I had anyone that used the garbage can created the trash, but it's his responsibility because he's able to do that chore. It's part of being part of the household, if the household is part of the world,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
In analogy. And so I think that that's so important, what you just said. And being a victim, when my mother died in a car crash suddenly, and there was no one to blame. She was the only one on the road. We think that maybe she fell asleep. She was a really hardworking social worker and with a family. And for 2 years, Diva, I couldn't talk about her. We were joined at the hip, best friends, and I couldn't speak her name for 2 years without falling down.
Yeah.
And so, as far as being the victim, we have to go through whatever we have to go through to let it go and honor that. It's so important that we honor that grief, because that that woman inside of us, that little girl inside of us, needs to know she's loved enough that we're going to allow her to feel that. But how do we integrate the woman we are now with the little girl inside, and how do we join them together so that they're not separate? And once they're integrated, then we can use the inner child and the woman. My best friend calls me a child spirit because I act like an 11-year-old a lot of the time. And I'm never going to take that away from me, because it is who I am. Some people, we all have our different personas. Mine is to be kind of silly and float around. I like to float around, like taxes to me is a horrific idea. But if I honor that, but I also know I need to do my taxes, then we're integrating all of our parts together. And that's when we find peace of mind, is when we are integrated as a whole and say, you know what, I have so many weaknesses and character defects, and that's awesome, because how many chances do I have to level up and go up and up and up and up through these character defects?
Hmm. And it's the lessons that we learn in that journey that make us strong and capable, empowered, all these things that we strive for. When we What we don't realize is that's an end result of going through the mess, right? The lotus flower grows from the mud.
Right.
So there is beauty in tragedy. And I mean, it sounds odd to say that, but I now say my brother's suicide saved my life.
Oh, wow. I'm
And
sorry for that. When was that?
that was in 2013.
Wow.
So, I would never be able to say that before because I was in such deep grief and processing all that came with that. Um, but it was really what I needed to face my own demons, my own issues that I was avoiding and thinking that life was great. And it wasn't. I was living behind this facade, this curtain, and everything looked fine, but it wasn't. I was a workaholic, but there was a reason I was a workaholic. It's because I didn't want to have to face myself. I didn't want to have to face what I was feeling, or our past, and things that traumas we had been through as kids. And so for me to now be able to say that his death saved my life, it is true, because it was an awakening for me.
Yeah,
And I
you turned it into a gift, and that's, people feel guilty for that, but that's not. He's in spirit now. He's not in pain anymore, and he's looking down, or if you, whatever you believe about when people leave their physical, cheering you on the whole way, wishing you well. He doesn't want us in pain any longer than we need to be.
Yes. And actually, it's really helped our connection. I feel closer to my brother now in spirit form than even when he was earthbound. And it's opened up a channel for me that he's not the only spirit that communicates with me. I now communicate with spirit in general, which was a whole new thing for me to process, and a gift. Really, I find it a gift that I'm able to pass along messages and stuff that comes to me.
Beautiful.
um but I look at that process, and even when I was in the middle of it and I was going through trauma therapy and stuff, the mantra that I kept saying was, the only way out is through. The only way out is through. I had to go through it to get to the other side. And that's what's made me who I am now. I'm a huge advocate on suicide prevention. I'm a huge advocate on mental health awareness. And I love working with kids, and that is an area, especially mental health, being proactive in mental health as a means of suicide prevention is super important to me. So I work with teens and tweens in that area. And it's also sort of expanded what I do as a voice specialist, because now I can take my empathic abilities, my intuitiveness, and be able to help people zone in on their business and how to get it out there so that people are intrigued and understand and see, because it's all about your voice, and it's all about your messaging, and it's all about how you put yourself out there. So I call it that I help people find their voice in business,
Love
because
that.
I feel we are so stifled in life that our voice gets lost, especially women. And I knew what it was like to have my voice taken away from me. And that's what PTSD was for me. And being a performer and a singer and always identifying with my voice, that just that alone nearly killed me, because I lost the one thing that was how I identified, and like what I
Who you were.
identified
Yeah.
with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, we often take those identities and we think that they're who we are, and we think our marriage is who we are, and we think being a mother is who we are. And that's where the beautiful art of detachment is so wonderful, to be able to, one of the things that seems to help people so much when I'm working with them and they can't get out of it is I'll give you an example. Someone that I was helping with a divorce, and when they came to me, they were full of anger and vitriol, and this person's ruining my life, this person's going to take everything from me, this, I did everything with the children, and and happened to be a male actually. And I stopped the conversation, and the NLP that we were talking about is to question and reset beliefs, right? And so I simply, all I had to do was say, when did you decide that? And that's all I said. And all of a sudden, that opened up the conversation with going back to we're responsible is, does that person have that much power over you to determine how you feel, how you think, how you act? And if they do, then great, that's information. There is no bad way to go about this. Your life experience is your life path, and it's just where you are now. And that has no guilt, no remorse, no embarrassment. If you're at the bottom of the pile, that's great, because look how cool your adventure is going to be. And all we have to do is figure out your life path and get you back on it, because I'm a firm believer that we come down with the life path. And when we start to suffer, which another client's doing right now, she thinks that maybe she doesn't want to be married anymore, and she's trying to put her triangle into his circle peg. And if only they do this and I do that, then we'll both be circles. And so this has been going on for quite some time, and there's no way to teach someone how to fast track that. We have to try every single option that we can when we're in a predicament, and go through and exhaust all of those options and know that it's part of the journey. And my question that turned it around for her was, I actually made her a very long video about, when we come down, if you believe this way, which is how I live my life, we are given this life path and we're never on the wrong path, but sometimes we veer off. And so when we start to experience pain, when we start to get into addictions, when we start to be abusive to other people, when we start to feel the number one thing, I don't know about you because you have a strong women's group, but for me, with my people, the number one thing is always anxiety. Every single time. They can call it sadness or anger or whatever it is, but it comes back to the fear and anxiety, right? All anger is fear in disguise, which causes the anxiety. And so teaching her that it's okay that you're off your life path with this person, if that's what's going on, and you can stay there, but you're going to stay in your feelings. And if you come back, will that person come back with you? Or is he begging you, I'm on this path, allow me to be me? And she's saying no, because if only you're like, I want you to be, then we'll stay married. And so it's the art of surrender to say, I pictured it this way with the white picket fence and the kids and the family. But, and this is also something I get every single time, tell me if this resonates with you, is I knew deep down not to do it. I knew deep down not to take the action, not to be with the person, not to get into that situation, not to move to this certain place. We have that inner pilot light that always knows. And it's just how far down do we bury it? Because like you said, when we can uncover it, we can get those, it's like Einstein said, match the frequency and the vibration and you get whatever you want. It's law. There is no other way. It's a scientific law that if you can, like a radio station, you hear static, 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 and you fine tune it that little bit, and there's the music. The music was always there, but we were choosing to stay in the static. And so my job is to find the frequency, help other people on their own go through their radio dial by themselves with me helping them. Because it's not my job to do the work, but I can be with them as they're getting closer to the frequency where the music plays.
I love that. Yes, that's such a great visual to have to sort of understand that frequency. And when people can tap into that intuitiveness as well, it can really help their business as well.
Yeah.
Because you start sitting in something and you do what feels right. Right?
Yeah.
You make decisions like, I don't know what to charge for my services. Well, sit with it. If $30 an hour resonates with you and that feels right, then start with $30 an hour. If it's $800 an hour and that's what resonates with you, but people have to be honest with themselves and they really have to tap into that intuitiveness. But it is that will help guide them in making those decisions, just like life decisions, right? And when you treat your business like an extension of your life, then all of a sudden it's like an arm to your body. It's still attached. You need to honor it, and you need to give it the same love as you give the organs inside your body. And you tend to that when you can tap into the intuitiveness that we naturally have. Then we start feeling in alignment with what it is that we're doing.
You know, and I was thinking when I was watching you, because as a woman that's always said, identifying myself, but it's how I feel, is that I'm a spiritual being having a human experience. Some people are grounded in their humanness, and so the spirit comes second because they're very physical and they're very grounded in the earth with 2 feet planted on the ground. And I find that those people tend to be the very successful business people because it comes naturally to them how to do what they do, whether it's a lawyer or an athlete or online or helping women. And so for a person that thinks more in spirit and frequency, that's why we need you, is to say, you know, there is a method that ties into the spirituality, and it's tied into everything, comes back to the brain. And a lot of it is, why do we get frozen? Why do we just look at the computer and say, I can't human today, I cannot adult today? And it goes back to that anxiety. And then I'm sure you question people, why is the anxiety? And it's usually scared, right? It comes back to scared, and that takes us down the whole tunnel of, in my past, I did a really heavy duty meditation 2 days ago that took me into a tunnel back into my childhood. And I've been doing this since I was 17 years old, and I discovered yet a new memory that left me feeling very scared. And scared was never part of my now reason for being who I was. Fearful, yes, but they're 2 different things. Being scared of another human is different than being fearful of something that might happen, right?
Yeah.
And this discovery came up, and I'm bawling, you know, I'm in my jammies in my house, like, because I work out of the home also because of COVID. And so I'm bawling on the couch saying, wow, this is so cool. As awful as I feel right now, everything that's ever happened to us since we were born is still in our memories, and we can pull it up. It's amazing to me every time it happens.
Yes. And I just did a course, I was telling you, with New York, and that is something that we have talked about in that course, was all these deep rooted implants that have been there since childhood. And we don't even know that they're what is that situation or that event, and we block it out, is what makes us fearful or creates those limiting beliefs, or things like that. And it's a whole complicated work. And that's why I always say I'm a work in progress, because I'm forever evolving, I'm forever learning, I'm forever moving forward. So when I look at what I'm doing in business, I try to look at it, let me take all these years of going through the muck to help make it easier for you, so you don't have to spend years going through the muck. And I can show you a process that is going to help catapult things, to help you reach goals, to help you, do the things that you want to with your business. And
that's why I love. Go on.
Oh, I was just going to say,
that's why I love what you do, because emotional muck, I can't fast track, but you can fast track. Business people don't have to stay in the muck if
Yes.
you have a good leader to help them hold the hand out, you know.
Yeah. And I deal with people dealing with a lot of fear because they're fearful of putting themselves out there. They're the fear of judgment. So that fear of going on camera and doing live videos, that's a real fear for a lot of people. And so a lot of that is deep-seated anxiety that comes from, you know, lack of self-esteem or lack of confidence, not wanting to be the center of attention, not wanting to be noticed because somewhere along the line they have learned that they shouldn't be stealing that spotlight or they shouldn't be owning that power. And
Right.
so really it's about ways that I can help people very quickly step into that power and by little things be able to do these online lives and be able to post and be themselves. And that's what people don't realize. They feel they have to have this business persona. And that's one thing I've learned doesn't work, right? I had to
Yeah,
learn
you
that the
just
hard way.
gotta, you know, I one of my mantras that got me as healthy minded as I am today is I gotta be me. I have a website, I never used it, but it's I gotta be me, I gotta be me. And you know, a quick story is that'll show you how real this is to what you're saying. Um, I started in the modeling world at 15 years old. And by 17, I'd moved to New York City and signed with a huge agency. And so um, I got used to being in that world. And back in the 80s, it was pretty wild. Luckily, I didn't get into any of the drugs or any of that because of my strong country upbringing. But I was in that circle, and you know, it's not unusual to be somewhere that all of the big wigs are and the movie stars and all of that stuff, and it was very normal. And so I was comfortable in that world. Getting on the cover of a magazine was my normal because most of the people around me were making a lot more money on a lot more covers, right? So my point being that wherever you are, there's always someone above and below. So take all of that where I'm on physical showing, which got me in a lot of trouble because I couldn't reconcile why a body was getting so much attention, but that's another day. It got me really into bad health.
Yeah.
I had to get out of the business. But my point being, I can go in front of the camera. I could sit here all day with you and do that because that's what I was trained to do since I was 15. But
Yeah.
in the beginning, if you told me to go get on a phone call with someone that needed me emotionally, it was horrifying to me. Like, you want me to what? You want me to put myself out there that you need me? I don't know if she knows she needs me. What if she says, no, I can't take the rejection of that.
Yeah.
But I'd been in the business on a physical aspect my whole life. So this is so easy where it's so fearful to others. And that just shows us how our life experiences what we think we become. And so you're
Yeah.
helping us rewire our brains into something that comes more natural to you.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Well, this has turned out very differently than I think we even expected it. And I've loved every minute of it. We could
Me too.
sit and talk here forever and ever because you and I are, like I said before, we're very, very similar in how we conduct our business and how we conduct our lives and, you know, the things that we have overcome. I think we have more to do in the future, you and I. We need to stay connected for sure. And, you know, I think it's a benefit to so many people to learn how to live intuitively and how to tap in to something that's in us,
Mhm.
right? And it's a learned skill.
Absolutely. And thank you so much. I'm not quite sure how I found your group, but I'm so happy that you gave me this opportunity to share and to be part of your group. And I think the bottom line is that fear is face everything and rise. What face everything and rise is the acronym for fear. We can all do it.
Oh, I love that. Face everything and rise. That is amazing. That needs to be a billboard somewhere, everywhere. I love that.
Isn't it? Yeah, because you can just
Yeah.
say it all day and what you think you become. Keep saying it, all of you out there. Anyone that is feeling less than, you are as powerful. You're part of the creator. There is no one more powerful than you. And so we tap into that daily by affirmations, but it's not just the affirmations. We have to put the feeling behind it. So if you keep
Yes.
saying it, then it starts to seep in as true.
Yes. How you talk, and this is something I teach too, what you say, the power of your words, your brain believes. So when you say, even if it's half jokingly, oh, I'm so stupid, your brain goes, okay.
Absolutely.
So be
Absolutely.
careful of what comes out your mouth, because thoughts become things. And this is something in the course that I just finished too. We talked about I am is probably the most powerful beginning of any sentence,
Mhm.
because what you say after I am
Mhm.
is.
Absolutely. And
It
been I've been fortunate enough because I've started my son very early on with all this because now it's who I am, right? It's just
is.
who you are. And he walks downstairs and he gives me his I ams all the time. It's just who he is, because it's not a list he has to make. Like we had to think about it to learn it. He says, I think today I'm going to be the best basketball player. And he just goes out and starts shooting, 3-pointers, because to him, of course it is. It's how I was born. And we can do that with ourselves and anyone around us. A smile at a supermarket can change someone from wanting to hurt themselves that day. It's so powerful.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm gonna end it with this story because you just brought back a memory for me. I was at an event for educators, and they were talking about mental health and suicide prevention. This was the seminar. And I mean, it was a really emotional discussion because there were a lot of teachers there from Northern Canada working in reservation schools
Mm.
that were beside themselves because they don't have a lot of resources to begin with, but they were losing students to suicide. Like that was in January of that year. And some of them were coming with stories of already having had 3, 4 suicides at their school in
Ugh.
that school year. And so it was a very, very heavy, but needed to happen discussion, and talking about how they wanted public health wanted to incorporate mental health in the education system, and it still hasn't happened, I think, to the point it needs to. But I was there to be part of a panel for Q&A afterwards as a suicide survivor and as an educator. I was a teacher at the time, and a friend of mine who was in a suicide survival group with me was talking as a parent who had lost his son. And he used a video from a former student of mine, and it was about depression. And it's the most phenomenal video. I'll share it with you. And I'm so proud of Devin for what he has done in his life after losing his father at 15. And just being able to be open and talking to youth about mental illness and depression, and, you know, not to be ashamed of it. And so I was crying watching this video because Jim played the video at his talk. And this woman beside me, who I didn't know, we didn't even have time to even say a hello because by the time I sat there, things were starting. And she saw that I was crying and she put her arm around me. And afterwards, when it was finished, I turned to her and I said, I can't leave today without telling you how much that simple act of kindness affected me on such a human level. And she goes, I didn't know if it would be too intrusive. And I said, you need to know that that may have saved my life today. And she
Yeah.
was shocked at me saying that. And I said, you don't know me, you don't know my story. And doing that just showed me that there was another human who simply cared and saw
Wow.
me in the world. And then she started to cry and she opened up about her 13-year-old who's battling depression. She feels as a mother, she gave that to her daughter because she also battled depression, and her daughter was cutting. And so it opened up a dialogue.
Hmm.
But the point was, is that as humans, it's very easy for us to do something so simple that can be the deterring factor in whether or not somebody chooses to live that day.
And absolutely, and I know we got to close, but in heart math, it's scientifically discovered that our hearts give more signals to the brain than the brain gives to the heart. And so when we're coming from that place, if I walk into a coffee shop, and I'm known as I'm a quiet mind coach because I'm just calm. I was born calm in the country, right? But if I'm bringing that calmness into a coffee shop and someone 8 meters away from me can feel it, up to 8 meters away, they're feeling that energy. And that's why you can walk into a room and someone can say, why do I suddenly feel better? We all have that. We have it to spread vitriolically or to spread it in love. And I know it sounds woo woo, but whatever woo woo is, it's also very scientific.
It absolutely is. How do you think teachers do what they do? And I tell my friends all the time when we used to be able to travel, I very often had to put my teacher hat on every time I traveled because inevitably there was something happening where a kid was potentially in danger. The parent wasn't noticing what was happening. There was a 5-year-old climbing on the railing of a cruise ship and sort of leaning over. We were 9 stories up on this cruise ship, and I'm nearly having a panic attack watching this
Oh
kid.
my
And
God.
I'm looking at the parents and I'm looking at the kid and I'm like, do you not say this? Like your 5-year-old is climbing the railing. And I my teacher look, sort of the no, that's not a good idea. And he kind of looked at me and went, yeah. And he got down. So he totally felt my energy because my panic, I had to put my teacher hat on and say, I see you. You know you shouldn't be doing that. Get down.
The look you just gave me made me want to get down off the rail.
Teachers perfect that look, let me tell you. It's that very silent, we're going to have a discussion about this later. Um, I learned that from my mom. She was great at it. My brother and I, very quickly, when she gave that glance, it was like, oh, we are behaving now. But you're right, that energy put out, people feel. I remember Wayne Dyer talked about this kid throwing a tantrum in a grocery store, and this mom was just beside herself, and people were making comments like, oh, what a terrible mother, and just judging this woman for something they know nothing about. And he said he just simply went near them knowing that his energy would help, and that kid totally calmed down.
You know what I did once? Wayne, I have every single thing he's ever put out. God bless him. The angels called him back because he was just
Yeah.
so out there, so ready to go. But I remember once when my little one sat on the floor and had a tantrum at a supermarket, and so I got on the floor and started having a bigger tantrum. He got up so fast off of that floor he was so embarrassed. He wasn't crying anymore. He was just, Mom, I'm okay now. Please get up.
Yeah,
He
that
never
is
did it again. He never did it again.
awesome. I love that. You know, worst comes to worst, give it back to them and see how they handle it.
He was horrified with embarrassment.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Well, I think that's a great place to end. How to embarrass your child.
You know
Well,
what? I just want to say thank you for letting me into your space. I really appreciate your time and your energy and for having this group for all of us. Thank you.
I thank you. This has been such a wonderful revelation. And I keep saying it every time I do this. I love this hot seat, not just because I can help people with their business, but it gives me an opportunity to get to know the members and the group and the community, and for them to get to know me. And it's such a great way to share. And isn't that the point of having a group in the first place? Is it's a way for us to learn and help each other. So this has been phenomenal, and I'm so happy that we've been able to connect, and I look forward to hearing more of what you're doing and us sharing, because I definitely feel we are kindred spirits, you and I.
Yes, we are. Thank you so much.
Thank you.